Birthday celebration for my lover. On Wednesday, my partner turned 30, and we celebrated with a large party. Even though I hadn't been feeling well in the weeks before, I was still determined to make his birthday unforgettable. My employment and finances have prevented me from taking many vacation days. So that I could celebrate his birthday in the evening, I made an appointment to see a doctor on the morning of his birthday. During the appointment, I discovered I was pregnant, and I was overjoyed. I believed that this would be the ideal gift for him after 6 years of trying for a child. A few folks were set up for the party when I arrived home. My partner disregarded me when I asked if we could talk in private. When I questioned again, he said I could wait 5 minutes while he spoke with his friend if it was really that urgent. I just told him that. He became very irate and began screaming at me, telling me that I was trying to ruin his day and that it was meant to be about him, not about me. I wrecked the day, so he told everyone present to leave and sent out a word to everyone else not to come. After that, he stormed out of the house and hasn't returned. I'm still in disbelief and shock. His reaction was incomprehensible, despite his excitement about trying for a child. Even though it's a wonderful surprise, my mother thought I should have waited because it was his day. Now, am I the jerk? Principal remarks, absolutely not the a-hole. I wish you luck in parenting 2 kids. It seems like throughout the past 6 years, only one of you has made significant efforts to conceive. I can't even begin to contemplate 6 years because my wife and I tried for 2 years and the feeling of unfavorable results was unbearable every month. I concur with the remarks made here. With this man, I wouldn't want children. He probably doesn't even want a child, but he could have done a few things to make getting pregnant more difficult. His remark raises the question of whether he hasn't been gaslighting her into believing they were trying by purposefully giving her birth control or anything similar. Potential. I've witnessed something similar, but his dismay makes it obvious that it was the last thing he wanted to hear. Probably a convenient way to vent his resentment on his birthday. Not the bastard. First off, by being in Lee, he destroyed his own birthday. Secondly, are you really sure you want a child with this guy? I'm not sure how things are going in the rest of your relationship, but after you told him you were pregnant and after you had been ill for a few weeks, he yelled at you. That is cause for concern. They've been trying to conceive for 6 years, so I'm still not sure why, given that she hadn't been feeling well for a few weeks, she didn't take a pregnancy test at home 2 weeks ago. Even though his response was completely inappropriate and that he is primarily to blame for this, I do believe that she bears some of the blame for this as she was unable to wait the full 5 minutes. She simply entered the space. What if his friend was telling him about a job loss, divorce, or something else entirely? Guy hoped to be able to offer Opie his whole attention after he and his companion had concluded their talk. That, of course, does not excuse his response, which was extremely concerning. Not that I can understand why he couldn't wait, but his response is really excessive. I know I was excited, but my partner always brushes off my excitement about things that interest me because he thinks they're unimportant or silly, so I knew I would have to wait, possibly hours, to tell him. Why is he your lover in this situation? Next story, did I really let my daughter's lizard gender reveal party go by? She's pretty unhappy about this, even though it's really ridiculous. My 23-year-old daughter, 48, has a skink with a blue tongue that she enjoys greatly. She finds it strange and humorously refers to it as her daughter. She claims, however, that this is because it's the closest thing she has to a child and she shares a profound emotional connection with it. I have been a strong supporter of her decision to stay childless for a number of reasons. She was thrilled to learn her skink's gender when she recently took it for a checkup at the veterinarian. Later, I received a text from her asking if I could attend her gender reveal party. She clarified that the gender reveal was largely a joke and a means to mock actual gender reveals. It was just a small get-together for her friends that she hadn't seen in a while, complete with cake and food. Well, I was not present. I failed to see the point. I have a lot on my plate, and it's only a lizard. It had been a long since I'd seen her, so she contacted me later to say she was kind of sorry I hadn't made it, but she understood that I was busy. I informed her that she couldn't genuinely anticipate my presence at a lizard's gender reveal. She clarified that it was a little get-together to catch up with everyone and not a true gender reveal. Instead, she described it as more of a joke. I informed her that unless it was for a real grandchild, I wouldn't be attending a gender reveal, so if that was the case, she should have just called it a gathering. After a brief period of silence, she rephrased what I had said to say that I didn't agree with her choice to forego having children. She can't really expect me to treat her lizard like a granddaughter, I informed her. She claimed she didn't think I would, but it was obvious that I didn't respect her decision or her relationship with her lizard. All she wanted was to see me. And I came for terrible reasons. She's being foolish about a reptile, I informed her. I stand by what I stated, despite her assertion that it wasn't about the lizard and that it was just a get-together. It is absurd to disclose a lizard's gender. After we hung up, her best friend sent me a message saying I was a bad person for treating her in that manner. However, I don't think it makes me a bad person to refuse to attend a lizard celebration. The a-hole is you. You have a wonderful lizard there. Your daughter clearly wanted to see you, and it wasn't just about the gender. Regardless of gender, I sincerely hope that the daughter will name Grand Lizard after Opie. There are plenty of social media updates to anticipate. The a-hole is you. Still, your daughter sounds cool, doesn't she? A gender reveal for lizards would absolutely appeal to me. That seems very amusing. I advised her to have simply referred to it as a gathering if that was the case. Yes, she did. She informed you that the gender reveal was a joke and that it was only a modest get-together to visit people she hadn't seen in a long time. You turned down your daughter's request to meet you since a stupid joke had wounded your feelings. You don't have a granddaughter, and you won't have a daughter for very long if you continue behaving in this manner. The following tale is headed, Am I the a-hole for not being sorry that I didn't believe my daughter's knee was hurting? My spouse is currently out of town, and my kid is 15 years old. I truly needed her assistance because I had a lot of yard work that needed to be completed. She told me on Friday that she was limping and that her knee hurt from her run. I said, It's funny how your body always seems to malfunction when I need your help. You can't just stay in bed all day if you want, since it's true. She has a history of lying about being sick to avoid doing tasks she doesn't want to undertake. I still find it difficult to believe her when she says anything is wrong, even though she hasn't done as much since she was about 9. She offered to help, and when the yard work was finished, I informed her we could take her to the ER if her knee continued to bother. She whined a lot the entire weekend that we worked, but I was really sure at the end of the weekend she would suddenly be better. But this morning, she complained that her knee hurt so much that it was difficult for her to walk, so I drove her to the emergency department. She had actually sprained her knee. She said that it had started hurting on Friday, and I was questioned. I had instructed her to tell them that it had only started hurting today. Thankfully, nothing serious occurred, but they warned that her knee's recovery might take longer because of how much use it has received since the injury. Because I don't want her telling people that I had her working when she informed me her knee ached, I made the decision to keep her home from school today. She tends to exaggerate when I make mistakes, so they wouldn't get the whole narrative or context. I do feel a little bad about it, but I assured her that if she hadn't been lying about her past, this wouldn't have gotten to this stage. She is furious with me. She told me she couldn't believe I didn't trust her and that she had been in excruciating pain all weekend. Even if she doesn't seem to be interested in talking to me, I think she has some responsibility for making it difficult for me to trust her. Is it wrong of me to not want to apologize right away? Regarding the comments, 1,000,000%, you're an a-hole. The whole account should have been enough to show that you misjudged her, made her spend a whole weekend without the care she needed, and attempted to coerce her into lying to hide your carelessness. All because she struggled with lying when she was a real youngster, 6 years ago. Yes, I see why. I do not want that to be known. Edited to add, you are a bad parent for instructing your daughter to lie to the doctors while acting like you are incredibly morally upset that she lied to you years ago, something that is really fairly typical for children to do. Horrible. You obviously don't mind when it works to your advantage. OP is lying to her children because she knows that her actions will be seen as child abuse, which is exactly what they are, and because she is aware that staff members at the hospital and school are required to report suspicious activity. She really is a peach. You're twice the a-hole that I am. You begged her to lie to cover your butt, which was a bad move because you could see something wasn't right. No W times 3 for the first one. Then, fearing her daughter would make her appear terrible, she decided to keep her daughter home from school. Hey, you're the biggest jerk. She used to pretend to be ill when she was 9 years old, therefore you know you are since you wanted her to lie about it. 6 years have passed. When a child reads a parent's perspective, they should realize that their parent is the bad guy. Next up, am I a bad person for not supporting my sister? Bullying is occurring at my sister's school. She's 15, and a few months ago, one of the girls a grade above me, I'm 16, started picking on her. Though, to be honest, I don't feel sorry for her. My parents were disturbed to hear that I haven't offered her any support or loving big sister energy. She has been my emotional abuser for many years. She has been lying to get me into trouble ever since she was 7 years old. She has made up a lot of stories to get us into problems, not just with our parents, but also with other students and teachers at school. The biggest lie, or perhaps the one that could have caused the most harm, was the one I told on my math test last year while we were learning remotely. She told a falsehood, claiming that I looked up the answers and had someone else provide them to me. It was untrue. She not only told our parents about her lie that she had emailed my instructor using my laptop, but she also made me take an exam in front of them to prove that I hadn't cheated. Even after being grounded, she refused to let go of it, and my math teacher never again treated me the same way. Additional instances of lying include telling our parents that I called our friend a name when I hadn't, fabricating a story about me forcing our sister to stand away from our cousins and me in an ivy-covered grass area, and telling one of the girls in my grade who had serious mental health issues that I was making fun of her during my birthday party and that I invited her to try to humiliate her. I was messed up. I climb into bed every night. She even informed a few of her pals. Her most recent deception, I believe, was telling a few students at the school that I was to blame for the cyberbullying one of them was experiencing. I stopped liking her because of this, to be honest, but I also blame my parents for a lot of it. What happens to her doesn't concern me anymore. It doesn't change how I feel about her, even though she has done everything to make my life miserable, and my parents ought to be doing more and should have stopped believing anything she says about me years ago. I then informed my parents that unless her friends choose to support her, I would not be there for her and that she is on her own in school. This has left me in a complete mess. Do I look like an a-hole? Here, passing judgment is not proper. You two live in what seems to be a seriously dysfunctional home. You are 15 and 16 years old. Should your sister be following your advice, she requires expert assistance. What other happenings in the house? What state are your parents in? While you should support your sister, you should also acknowledge that the way the two of you are living is abnormal. If you believe there is more to this tale than you are sharing here, please talk to a trusted adult at school. Our folks are not too unusual. The main problem I have with them is that, despite my sister's impeccable reputation, they frequently accept her statements. To demonstrate to them how evil she truly is and how foolish it is for them to continue believing her, you ought to start filming her actions. Not remain at home. Your parents are to blame for raising that little monster, and your sister is terrible. I concur, they ought to have taken action much earlier. Last anecdote, am I a bad person for ordering my mother and sister to cease checking the background of every woman I date? In my early 20s, I'm a guy. I have only sometimes dated, nothing significant, and I have never been in a committed relationship. I don't take girls home to meet my family unless I'm serious about them, but I do occasionally share photos of myself on social media with my dates or female friends. My mom and sister always run background checks on the girls I post pictures of, and I've seen a pattern with this. My final law school date was one of those dates. That was just one date, and I never told anyone about it. My mother inquired about the lawyer girl I was seeing throughout the course of the following few days. I was perplexed because I hadn't told anyone about it and we had only gone on one date. I didn't see the girl again. My mom reportedly had my sister run a background check on a girl who happened to be dating or just pals with some of the females I was hanging out with. I eventually stopped sharing pictures of my dates or my female friends so I could stay out of trouble. I've been seeing this girl for the last 5 months, and we have made our relationship official. We truly picture ourselves spending a lifetime together, unlike anything we've ever done before. We had met at the strip club where she worked. She used to work there as a stripper, but she has since stopped and is a bartender instead. For obvious reasons, I hadn't told my family about it, but since we were getting serious, I wanted her to get to know my family. She was loved by my mom, and my sister was in awe of her sense of elegance and humor. I felt a little relieved that they thought well of her. Before many days had gone, my mother called to say she had to talk to me right away. As soon as I arrived at the residence, they displayed various explicit photos that my girlfriend had posted on social media and pictures of her on a pole from her previous work route. They were attempting to introduce her to me because they believed that I was ignorant. I told them I didn't mind and that I had known all along. I also informed them that checking the background of every woman I come into contact with is intrusive. I instructed them to cease running background checks, and they were very angry, saying, "We were just trying to help you and now you blame us. Sorry, we care about you, and we didn't want you to get hurt, and that's what we get for caring." I understand that they most likely have good intentions and are trying to help me, but am I really such an idiot for instructing them to stop looking into this? Not at all. Not one day ahead of time. What the hell, too? Well, what the fuck, indeed. However, I also want information. OP, do these background checks involve Googling and social media stalking? Or are they using their own cameras? How do they obtain this information? The sole purpose of a background check is to determine criminal history. They're merely skulking on Facebook. It will just cause ladies to move away. Not a daycare center. Furthermore, their actions are intrusive and disgusting. It's okay that you spoke up. In fact, you ought to keep speaking up and confronting them. Now that you're an adult, you have the freedom to choose. Shame on them for snooping around in the lives of all the women you've ever been close to. Not at all. Remain at home. And I would end things if I discovered that my partner's family had done this behind his back and he was still in contact with them. This place is neither good, nor are there good intentions. Here, there is irrational, manipulative, and domineering behavior. It's not that you're being unappreciative, rather, you're setting limits with two individuals who obviously have no idea what privacy, boundaries, or minding their own business are.